Hi, and thanks for joining Open to All today for a brief overview of why we should be so concerned about the Masterpiece Cakeshop case. We know that on the surface, this case doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But though this case looks like it's about wedding cakes, scrape off the icing and what you'll find is that this case paves the way to dismantling our nation's non-discrimination laws. We think that's worth talking about. Let's take a step back for a second and start with the facts. This case came about when a gay couple in Colorado went into a bakery to buy a wedding cake. The baker told the couple, "Nope, no cake for you." Now, Colorado's non-discrimination laws makes that illegal. But the baker says that being required to make the cake violates his constitutional rights to free speech and freedom of religion. So the Supreme Court needs to decide, does the bakery have a constitutionally protected right to discriminate, or does the bakery need to follow the law? Why is this case so dangerous? The Masterpiece case puts forth a different question, asked in a different way than anything that has come before the Supreme Court before. The bakery isn't just arguing that businesses with religious objections should be exempt from non-discrimination laws. It also argues that since baking a cake involves artistic expression, being required to bake it also violates their right to free speech. Now, both of these are constitutional arguments, meaning if the Supreme Court agrees with the bakery, businesses could gain a constitutionally protected right to discriminate that could not be undone with a legislative fix. Not only that, a ruling for the bakery wouldn't stop there. Now remember that as non-discrimination laws stand now, businesses that sell products to the general public aren't above the law just because there's a creative element to their work. But if the bakery wins, any business that provides custom services or has some element of creativity could have a right to refuse service. For example, a restaurant, a caterer, a hair salon, a tailor, a school counselor, a florist, a picture framer, just to name a few. It could mean a salon could refuse to cut hair for a bat mitzvah, or a florist could refuse flowers for the anniversary of an interracial couple. And what about Subway? Did you know that their employees are called sandwich artists? This case also doesn't just open the door to discrimination against LGBT people. It opens the door to allowing businesses to deny service to just about anyone, including people of color, Jewish people, Muslims, interracial couples, single parents, or anyone else they disapprove of. But some of you may be wondering, could this really lead to legalized racial discrimination? And if you're a lawyer, you might be thinking, what about strict scrutiny? Did you know there was an amicus brief filed on behalf of 20 states, which argues that the government cannot ever ask businesses that have a creative element to follow non-discrimination laws? Think about that for a minute. 20 states are already openly saying that these businesses shouldn't have to follow non-discrimination laws, and not just when it comes to serving same-sex couples, ever. Which is why, as the legal brief by the NAACP and 8 other racial justice organizations noted, the federal government cannot even confirm that the carve-out could not be used to discriminate against racial minorities. Also think about this. The reality is that there is little true legal distinction that would justify why discrimination against LGBT people would be constitutional, but discrimination based on race would be unconstitutional. At the end of the day, what people are counting on is that the court will continue to say we can't discriminate based on race because it would be culturally unacceptable to say otherwise. Should we count on that? Consider our changing cultural landscape. We're living in a country that's trying to build a wall, that's trying to ban Muslims, that when white supremacists commit murder, blames the protesters. We have a Supreme Court that just gutted a core part of the Voting Rights Act. Now take that and imagine what could happen if the Trump administration appointed another Supreme Court justice. Now we know what many of you are thinking. What about religious freedom? After all, we support religious freedom too. But the reality is this case doesn't affect that. The owner of the bakery is still free to believe what he believes and to attend the church he attends. But religious freedom doesn't give any of us the right to discriminate or to hurt others. So what about free speech? Let's pause for a moment and stop and think about the absurd claim that selling a cake means the bakery is endorsing the beliefs of their customer. If that were true, you'd better never get a job as a barista. Because if serving someone meant endorsing everything they believed or did, by the end of the day, you wouldn't even know which way was up. Not only that, non-discrimination laws don't stop business owners from expressing individual opinions or beliefs. And that's exactly what Jack Phillips has done by going on national television and telling his story. But what free speech doesn't do is give businesses the right to hang a sign in their window saying, "Whites only" or "No gays." One final red herring we hear a lot is, what about those cake-eating Nazis? Nazis don't like a lot of different types of people, but they might still like cake. So if the baker needs to make a cake for a same-sex couple, will a Jewish baker need to make a Nazi cake? The short answer is no. First of all, Nazis are not a protected class. But even if that wasn't true, businesses can decide what to sell. They just can't decide to refuse service based on who the customer is. A bakery can decide to sell Nazi cakes or not, and they can decide to sell wedding cakes or not. But if the bakery does sell wedding cakes, what they can't do is violate our non-discrimination laws and turn customers away simply because of who they are. So we're going to close with an ad that shows just what could happen if the bakery wins this case. Because we need people to be informed, and we need them to understand the danger. You can help. Share the ad or this video on social media, talk to your friends, write your local newspaper. And remember, this may look like a cake, but what this really is an effort to dismantle our nation's non-discrimination laws, literally sugar-coated in white frosty icing.
As Americans, we decided long ago that when a business opens their doors to the public, they should serve everyone on the same terms. And that makes sense. Imagine how you would feel if you were kicked out of a business simply because the owner didn't want to serve people like you. Just because a business serves the public doesn't mean they share all of their customers' beliefs. But the Supreme Court is hearing a case that could create a right to discriminate in our nation's Constitution. And that's scary. Do we really want to give businesses a right to tell customers, "We don't serve your kind here," to humiliate them in front of their loved ones? And it's about so much more than wedding cakes. It's about not asking parents to explain to their kids why they weren't welcome, that a business won't serve their kind of family. We are all entitled to our beliefs, but that shouldn't give businesses a license to discriminate.